Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My voice sounds a little stuffy. I have a cold, but I'm gonna give you guys a labor and delivery story. I posted a little video of the labor and delivery, but we couldn't really record, so it wasn't really like a vlog. My sister just put something together, but I'm going to do the story now. So let's get started. I gave birth to my son January 22nd, and I was scheduled for an induction January 21st. I was 38 weeks and 2 days, and the reason that I had to get induced at 38 weeks is because I had gestational diabetes. Um, so they usually induce you around 38 weeks because of your placenta, or if you have a big baby, and he wasn't measuring out too big, or like where they were really worried. So it was mostly because of mostly because of the placenta. So um we went in at about 7 a.m., me and my boyfriend, and I changed into my gown, and she told me they started my IVs and everything, and she told me at 9 o'clock the doctor was going to come in and break my water. And a little uh, Carter would wake up while I'm filming this. Um, a little backstory about my doctor. I really didn't care for her. I tried to switch her so many times. It was just really hard to switch. So I was just like, I'm just going to keep her. To me, like every appointment I went to, she was rushing me. Like every I had questions, she would rush me. And it's like, I know she sees a lot of patients, but it was no connection. She acted like I was brand new every time I seen her. I don't know. I just didn't get a good vibe from her. So I was really worried when they said she was going to come in and break my water, because I knew that she had to check me. And to me, getting checked was like very painful. I didn't like getting checked when she did it, but I had another doctor check me, and he was a little gentler. She was just so rough. Um, and before, prior to this, I was already only 1 centimeter dilated, so I didn't need like any gel or anything. They just was going to start me straight on Pitocin. So I knew that she had to come in and check me, and I was just like so scared to get checked. I didn't even care about them sticking a little hook up to break my water. I was nervous for her checking me. So 9 o'clock came, and she checked me right on. She came right on time, and she went ahead and checked me, and it was so painful. Like, um, I can't even describe it. It was so painful, and I was still only at a 1, and she checked me, and she went ahead and broke my water. And then they started me on Pitocin. And I wasn't really nervous for the Pitocin. You guys, going into this, I was reading so much. I was so scared about contractions. I wasn't even scared about pushing. I was just so scared about these contractions, but they weren't that bad. But we'll get to that. So they started me on Pitocin, and I started to have contractions, but they weren't like terrible contractions. They were like tightening, but I didn't really feel it. So they kept upping the Pitocin, just kept upping it, I guess. And then I'm still taking the contractions, A little hours go by, and my nurse kept coming in saying, "Did you want your epidural?" Talking to me about like the epidural and stuff. And yeah, so they checked me again, and I was at 3 centimeters dilated. So at this point, I can get the epidural if I wanted the epidural. But I'm like, I don't need it right now. Like, these contractions aren't bad. Like, I can do it. So I told them I don't need the epidural right now. And then they kept upping the Pitocin, and then all of a sudden, Carter's heart rate dropped really, really low. I think he did it twice, and of course all the nurses run in the room, and it's freaking me out, and they're turning me on my side, and they put like peanut ball between my legs, and they shut the Pitocin off. They like turned it all the way down, or they shut it completely off until they got Carter heart rate back up. So that kind of scared me. So when they restarted the Pitocin, they started from the beginning. So they didn't know if there was too much Pitocin or what was going on that was making his heart rate keep dipping. So when they restarted the Pitocin, they started me at the beginning, and I'm like, I gotta go through this again. So they did that, and then they came and checked me again, and I was still at a 3. So at this point, they're like, okay, we got to get things moving. We got to get this show on the road. So the nurse comes in there, and she was like, we're about to up your Pitocin like crazy, so I suggest that you get your epidural now. Even though, like, I think it was this time, it was probably about 4 p.m. So I started feeling contractions maybe like at 10, an hour after they broke my water and stuff. And so from 10 to like 4, she was like, you're not progressing, like, we're gonna need to up this Pitocin, so you need to get this epidural. And I'm like, okay. And they say the epidural, it takes like 40 minutes for the anesthesiologist to come up, but actually he came up literally in 5 minutes. And they prepped me for my epidural, so everyone had to get out the room. So it was just me, the nurse, and the anesthesiologist. And prior to this, I always knew I wanted an epidural. I know you guys that do it natural, like, power to you, but I wanted an epidural because I knew I was getting induced, and I just knew that the contraction was coming like crazy. But was I scared about them sticking me in my spine? Not really. I don't know why. I just was just like, I'm just gonna make me feel better. So, he came in and gave me an epidural, and I had to, lean over on my nurse. And this point, the contractions weren't bad, so I was able to stay still because I could handle them. So staying still wasn't a problem. They say it feels like a bee sting or something like that. To me, it hurted. It hurted to me. I mean, not terrible bad, but it hurted. It was like a really weird feeling going into your back, and that numbing feeling. I don't know. It just felt really weird and stuff like that. And I guess you could feel it. Like, one side was more numb, and I had to lean over to go to the other side. It was just really weird. And it took probably about like 30 to 40 minutes to do it. And after he did it, like, it started to work right away. Like, I instantly, my feet were numb, my legs were numb, my butt cheek, I just broke this. My butt cheek was numb. Like, it instantly worked. So I'm like, okay, this about to be really easy in labor and delivery. I'm like, I can't feel anything. So at this point, I was up laughing and stuff like that. I couldn't feel anything. The contractions was coming on the screen. They upped my Pitocin like crazy, and the contractions was coming. I was seeing how high they were and stuff. And y'all, I did not feel it. Like, I was chilling. So I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. This epidural is amazing. Little did I know. So around maybe like 45 minutes later, I started to feel my feet. And I started to feel pain. And I'm like, hold up. Wait a minute. How am I feeling this? And the contractions at this point were like super painful. And then I kept telling my boyfriend to touch my feet, because he had touched my feet before and they were numb. But this time he touched my feet and I could feel it. So I'm like, something's not right with this epidural. So I called my nurse in, and I'm like, something wrong with this epidural lady. And she looking at me like, no, nothing's wrong. It just takes time to kick in. I'm like, no, it kicked in already. I said, something is wrong. I'm feeling these contractions and they're painful. Now at this time it's closer to 7 o'clock, because the nurses switched shift at 7. So she was like ready to go, so she wasn't paying me no mind. And I kept telling her, like, I'm in pain, like, these contractions hurt, like, oh my gosh. And my Pitocin was all the way up. So it's like 7 p.m. right now and stuff like that. So I still haven't got checked yet. I'm still at a and the last time they checked me, I was still at a 3. So I'm over here at this point like crying because these contractions hurt so bad and no one's listening to me. I kept telling my nurse, like, call the anesthesiologist in here to come check it. She just would not listen to me. So the next nurse come in, and this nurse was amazing. I don't remember her name, but like literally she was the best nurse ever. She came in and at first my doctor had called her, and at this point it's around getting close to 8 p.m. and she thinks I'm still at a 3. So my doctor comes in and she calls her pager and she asked to speak with me. And she said that at this point, you're gonna need a C-section. We have to do a C-section. And I'm like, a Soldier Boy voice, a C-section? Like, no. Everybody knew I just did not want a C-section, and I felt like she didn't give me a chance to try. Like, I even haven't been in labor that long. But she was so pushing me for a C-section, and that's how my doctor was. I didn't like her. Like, she always was pushing for me to do something. I really think she just wanted to go home because I was her only, like, in, like, delivery, and then she could go home. But she just like, okay, we're gonna prep you for a C-section. And I'm like, I looked at my nurse, and my nurse was like, no. Like, she shook her head no. And we got off the phone, and I told my doctor, like, give me some time. Like, can I labor for a little bit longer? She said, okay, I'm going to check back with you in an hour. And I was like, okay, cool. So the nurse looked at me, and she said, you don't need no C-section. She said, you can do this. Like, this is your body. You know, don't let her force you into a C-section. She has done this before. I guess she has done this before with other patients and stuff like that, pushing them to have a C-section when they could actually have it vaginally. So she looked at me, and she said, you got this. Like, I'm gonna check you. She said, she spoke it. She's like, I'm gonna check you, and you're gonna be at 6 centimeters. She said, you're gonna be fine. So then I ended up telling her about the epidural. I said, I'm in so much pain. Like, this epidural is not working. And she looked at me and she said, we're gonna fix that. And she called the anesthesiologist. He came in within 5 minutes, y'all. He was up there. He was amazing, but them epidurals didn't work, y'all. He was amazing, but I don't know what he was doing to my back because it wasn't working. So he comes in, and I told him, and he just looked at my back, and he literally, like, pulled the little thingy on my back, and he was like, your epidural's not even in your back. And I'm like, really? So all this time, like, I didn't have an epidural. I was feeling the contractions natural, no epidural. It wasn't even in my back. And I tell you, I said, I told that nurse, and my nurse now was like, she didn't do anything about it. I'm like, no. So he was like, we're gonna have to redo it. And at this point, y'all, I'm so frustrated and annoyed because I'm like, I don't think I could sit still. These contractions were coming like crazy back to back. They was hurting so bad, and I'm like, I can't stay still. Like, I'm scared. Because the first time I got it, I was all cool. Like, I wasn't feeling nothing, so I could stay still for this needle. But this one, I was so scared that I couldn't stay still, and I didn't want to get paralyzed or anything. So I was so frustrated and annoyed. So he came in to redo the epidural, and like, again, this nurse was amazing, y'all. I grabbed onto her, like, she was like, pull my scrubs, pull. She said, if you need to pull my hair, she said, do anything. But she said, you're not gonna move. She said, you're not gonna move. She said, hold on to me tight. She said, we got this, you're not gonna move. So I got through the epidural, and he asked me, did it work? And I was just kind of like out of it. I was like, I don't know, not really. I was really annoyed when he was apologizing and stuff. He was very sweet, but epidurals just, I guess, don't work for me, or he didn't do it right. I don't know. So when he left, it only numbed up the right side of my body. So the left side was just, I was in so much pain, and the right side was numb, and it just felt so weird that it was just so much pain and pressure on this side, and then barely some on the other side. It just was like no point in me getting an epidural, really. I know what the natural felt like. It's no point in me getting an epidural. So it wasn't working, and she was like, okay, I'm about to check you. And I was so nervous for her to check me because I know if I wasn't dilated, they was going to probably do a C-section. She checked me, y'all, and at this point, I'm at 5 centimeters. So she was like, you got this. Like, we finna give birth. I'm like, okay. So again, I labored some more. I'm in excruciating pain. These contractions are coming and coming and coming. They come back and check me again, and literally in like 30 minutes, you guys, I was at an 8. Like, I was progressing so fast, and I really think not the epidural not working has something to do with it. It's probably sped it up and stuff. So maybe that was a good thing of not having an epidural. And then she checked me 10 minutes later, and I was at a 9.5. And then she said that, and I just got so scared because she was like, okay, we're going to practice pushing. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. So she got everything set up, and we started to practice pushing. And you guys, I underestimated pushing. Pushing to me was the worst part of my labor. The contractions, even though I was crying, pushing, to me, I was so exhausted. I felt like I couldn't push no more. Um, to me, pushing was horrible. So we ended up doing practice pushes for about an hour. And throughout that time, you guys, I was so out of it because I was throwing up. I throwed up 2 times. I was so hot, so I needed that cold rag on my head. I was so hot. I thought I was going to pass out, exhausted. And you guys, in between pushes, I fell asleep. Like, that's how exhausted I was. All I wanted to do was sleep. All I wanted to do was close my eyes and go to sleep. At this point, it's around like 11 p.m. I was so exhausted, and everybody wanted me to have my baby on the 21st because I guess that was Martin Luther King Day. Everybody wanted me to have it on the 21st, but he actually came the 22nd at 12:04. So yeah, but I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and I really felt like I couldn't push anymore. I started to give up, you guys. I wish I had that footage to show you, but at this point, I was getting so close, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I kept pushing. I felt like I couldn't push no more. I just so exhausted, and the nurse again was looking at me and was like, "Stop! You finna have this baby," because I kept giving up, saying, I can't do it." And then, y'all, I felt the pressure. I felt his head, and when I felt that, I was like, "Give me a C-section." I even screamed it like I was like, I want a C-section. I want a C-section. And the baby head was right there. That was like, no, it's too late for that. And I'm like, no, push it back in. I feel it. It was, the pressure is unreal, y'all. When y'all feel that pressure of that baby head, especially since I have the epidural, like, a lot of people can't feel nothing down there. That whole left side, and that's why I was so swollen on that side after my stitches, because that's the side that was just like overpowering working. um I felt that, and I was like, I don't think I could push this baby out if I can't even take the pressure. So they set everything up, and they end up calling a doctor in the room, and they told me that she was gonna come in there rough, which she did. And when she came in there, I literally had the baby in 2 pushes, and the baby was out, and she did cut me, and I did get a episiotomy, um, which is horrible. But the baby came out, and you felt such a relief. It's so crazy. Like, once the baby comes out, you forget about all that pain. Like, I know I can't even remember what the pain felt like. Like, after that moment happened, I just felt so out of it. They put the baby on me, and I felt, I can't describe the feeling, but I think any mom knows. It's like, oh my gosh, it was the best moment of my life. Um, but I still was so exhausted. I remember, like, I had to tell my boyfriend and them to take the baby off my chest because I just couldn't hold him anymore because I felt like I was about to pass out. So she ended up sewing me up, and yeah, Carter was born 7 pounds 6 ounces, and he was 20 inches long. And yeah, I'm finna cry because I keep thinking about the moment. And yeah, that was pretty much my labor and delivery story. Doom, doom, doom. And then they checked Carter's blood sugar, and right after birth, his blood sugar was okay. But the next day, um, they checked it, and he had to go to the nursery my whole stay. So I did not have my baby in the room with me while I stayed at the hospital, which was extremely hard. And I give it up to, like, NICU moms and stuff like that, because he was in there for 3 days, and I was crying. I went to see him every day, sore and all. I couldn't even walk, but I went and saw him in the nursery like every 3 hours. And he got released from the nursery the day I got sent home, but I didn't have my baby with me in the room at all. It was just me and my boyfriend. So I really didn't have any visitors, because most people come to see the baby, but I didn't have my baby in a room, and I didn't really want any visitors. So that was really, really depressing. Really depressing. But he's fine now. His blood sugar is okay, and his low blood sugar came from me having diabetes. So I felt so guilty, like I gave it to him, but it's nothing really I had control over. And now he's all healthy and everything. So that's my labor and delivery story. And I'm going to film another video about postpartum, because I'm dealing with that now. And yeah, so please subscribe and like. I would show y'all Carter. I'll probably do it in the next video because he's knocked out sleep. So thank you guys for watching.